In this video, I'm going to show you how to begin your line types assignment. So the first thing that you need to do is print out the line types sheet PDF, and you can see again I've mounted it to my table so that all of the horizontal lines are perfectly horizontal and the vertical lines are also perfectly vertical here so that everything lines up with my tools. Over that I have placed a sheet of vellum that also aligns with the edges and the borders, and you can see that I've got my template sheet already created with my name on the side, the term, and the name of the assignment right here. So all I'm going to do now is just smooth out the overlay and mount the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to do this one middle column, and then you'll be able to fill in the rest of these with your pens, and then we'll go ahead and do the pencils over here. And the reason I'm starting on this side is because I don't want to mess up or smudge the pencil that's going to be on this side. So all I'm going to do is just begin with my 0.35 millimeter pen, because that's the middle one. And I'm going to just go ahead and trace the three applicable boxes. So I'm going to do this one, and this one, and create the horizontal lines and include the text as well. So now you can see on my sheet, I have taken on the side that is related to practicing using your pens. I've now inked in the box and the label here for the 0.35 millimeter drafting pen. And then what I did was, since we're going to be drawing lines that are 1/4 inch spacing, I actually took the True Life scale side of my scale ruler, and it's got a 16 on one end, and these are the numbers that are actually real life inches. So all I did was put a little tick mark every 1/8 of an inch. So for the vertical lines, they're running around down at the bottom horizontally. For the horizontal, they're running vertically along the side. And then for the diagonal, they're running on the bottom, okay? So what I'm gonna do is just draw a few lines, and what you'll see me doing if you look at my pen and my fingers is that I'm actually starting to twist just a little bit as I draw. So you can see for me there's a little bit left over on the right side of my box, so it's not quite done to 1/8 of an inch here, but you can see I'm twisting and spinning. Okay, and my drafting pens are a little bit old, so I might have to switch to a different one. But again, what you can see what I'm doing is I'm putting my pen at the tick mark and then moving the tool up to it. Okay, so what you want to just be careful of is that you're going up to the line and not going over, because we want to really make sure we learn and practice just how to go right up to the edge. And then you can see here there's tick marks at the bottom, but you can see at the top here I'm picking up my pen almost right away because I don't want any puddling at the edge. So it's pretty mechanical at this point. You just put your pen right at the tick, move the tool to the pen, twist as you're creating lines. See? Just watch as I twist my pen. Okay? So you'll finish up the rest of those, and then for the horizontal it's the same thing. You just place your pen, run your tool up to it. Here we're using the T-square. Now again, just be sure with your pens that you're storing them with the cap down so that they don't get dried out. Make sure when you're purchasing them that you check and see, make sure that they're nice new ones. Okay, So that's how the first ones are going to go, and just be real careful that you're going left to right or right to left, depending on which hand you are, and top to bottom so that you're not smudging, okay? And then for the bottom one, the diagonal, you're going to start with your 45-degree angle right here, okay? And you can see here, I'm just running them again, pen, and then the tool moves up to it, and I'm spinning as I go. I need to press a little bit harder to get mine to work. There we go. So you can see here, this one that went over the edge, we want to try to avoid that. So again, put your pen, move the tool up to the pen. So you can see I'm using the tick marks along here, but then you're going to also have to create tick marks along this side too so that you can complete the box. Okay? So you'll be doing filling in the entire box for each of these. So extend all your lines this way, extend all your lines this way, extend them this way and this way, so that by the end of it, all of your boxes are filled with all of the different pen types. In this video, we're going to follow a very similar process to the one that we just did with the pen, except this time I'm going to switch to pencil. And so we're going to be looking at this side of the template, and I'm going to just begin on this side, on the left side, and to create the same thing, vertical lines, horizontal lines, and diagonal lines. But I'm going to first begin by tracing the boxes. And so this may be the first time that you've been taught how to draft with a pencil. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your pencil is really, really sharp. And you can either use an electric pencil sharpener or you can use a manual one. It's up to you. But all I'm going to do is the same process. So I'm going to bring the tip of my pencil here, and then I'm going to bring the tool up to it. Now, you can see what's going to happen is the ruler is coming up right up against my graphite. So there's going to be some debris that's going to form. So that's why I'm starting on the left side, because this way, if the debris forms, it's not going to be smudged as much. So again, I'm going to take the tool and move it up to my pencil, and then what I want you to do is see how I'm twisting my pencil as I draw the line. Okay, so I'm going to start, and the pencil's basically rolling in my fingers, and I start with it rolled as close toward me as possible, and then I'm going to roll away as I draw the line. And I'm going to go nice and slow. Okay, and I can't see because I'm trying not to put my head in front of the camera, but the very end of the line. But you ought to be able to with precision. Okay, so same thing here. So see how I roll my pencil toward me in my fingers? And then as I draw, I'm rolling it away. And that's really just so that you don't end up getting too much of a dull tip on the edge of your pen. And you can see here as I rolled, it got a little bit off. So I can erase that quite easily. But again, I'm trying to watch my body mechanics so I'm not really hunched over my work. But it'll be a little bit easier as I move down because I can see my work without blocking the camera. So again, same thing here. There we go. Nice and crisp. And I'm using the same technique for the vertical lines as well. And so in the interest of not smudging very much, I'm going to bring my triangle, my 45, 45, 90 triangle, all the way up to the edge of the pencil. And I'm going to draw all of these at the same time. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is fill in the rest of these and create my little tick marks, and then we'll resume. So I finished penciling in my boxes, and I've created little tick marks. And so very similar to the pen work that we did earlier, all I'm going to do to create these vertical lines is just bring my pencil to the tick mark, bring the tool up to my pencil, and then again I'm going to just twist my pencil as I draw, again to make sure that there's a nice consistent tip on it and I don't have to sharpen quite as often. Okay. The only other thing that you might need to know about doing this is to just be sure that you don't press so hard that you create a bunch of graphite crumbles, and that you're doing this in such a way that you're preventing smudging. So instead of starting on one side and going this way, you're starting in the opposite direction and going top to bottom. So again, same thing here. I'm just putting my pencil tool up to it. And a couple of other things that you want to do or keep in mind as far as technique is, again, we're trying to just go right up to the edge. We have a tendency to, when we draw lines like this, kind of almost hitch back a little bit when we pick up our pencil, and so it'll create like a little hook at the end of your line. And so what you want to do is try to avoid that, but it's really just about going really slowly. So you can see along the edge what I'm looking for is a nice crisp edge where the lines don't go over, they stop right on that vertical line here, and that they're consistent all the way throughout. So consistent thickness, and that's what also that's also why we twist our pencil, is because it allows much more consistency in the line work. So you can see if you were going to draw like a very long wall, for example, or draft a very long wall on a floor plan, you would want those lines to be really consistent. And then same thing with the diagonals. You can start it, maybe it might be better to start on this side at the top here. And again, I'm really just trying to make them as consistent in value, so making sure that they're all the same lightness, darkness, and then making sure that the actual strokes are consistent. And so that's what the twisting is for. So what you're going to do is complete all of these boxes, and then you're going to move on here and use an HB, which will be a little bit softer than the H or 2H that you're using. Same exact process though. And then for the 2B, it's going to be very soft. So the lines here are going to be a little bit thicker and probably a little bit darker. So be really careful and neat. And so when you look at this as a complete work, you're going to have basically the thinnest lines here, thicker lines here, and thickest lines here. And so as we move forward in the term, when we start to think about using heavier line weights for the profile of objects, medium line weights for the change of plane, and then very thin line weights for the textures, now you're going to be able to associate the thin lines with pencil with the thin lines with pen. Okay?